Right, welcome back. So, just make sure there's nothing coming through. Yeah, cool. So, yeah, that was the weekend and out of the way now. So back to the important stuff. Yeah, basically, for anyone who's new or tuning in for the first time, um, the stream we're doing here is we're basically just using Ableton 10 to make some well, it's kind of like a deep minimal kind of deep tech house kind of a sound, I guess. A bit of acid in there for the crack, filter, cut off resonance, just squelchy, lasery sounds. But yeah, banging 909 as you'd expect. Some Rhodes, some strings, and bongo action, and then some 808s. Just a healthy dose of the 808. So yeah, look, it is kind of what it is. So what I've been doing the last week or so is literally just logging on, working on it, and not opening it at all outside of the stream, which is cool. I like doing that. It's been great for me for a number of reasons. Number one, I suppose the main one is it's it's given me time to it. I haven't allowed myself to binge it. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the time now, like the work that we did last week, I'd probably bang that out in a day, and be burnt out from it then, and not want to listen to it again at all ever again. So I have to say it's a nice change of pace for me to just go straight in for an hour hard, and then that's it. Now I haven't been doing a whole lot of kind of like talking people through my process as I'm actually going, which I don't know if that's beneficial. It all depends on kind of the level someone's at who's actually watching this video. So if you're a beginner, you might find like, Jesus, he's going too fast, or I'm lost, or whatever. Whereas if you're experienced, you might be kind of like, oh yeah, I kind of get all this. So either way, I think it's kind of good to just kind of see someone's process anyway, regardless of what level you're at. There's always going to be something to pick up. Now, at the moment, say, right, and just to clarify the order we created this in, like the tune itself was made here, like the loop, say, of the main section or drop or groove or whatever you want to call it. Basically that was all made here, like across one scene, So at first there was nothing below, say, like these lines I've highlighted here were all empty. They didn't exist. There was just this top section here, and in that top section I just had the groove of the tune. Now from that I made like a sketch of my arrangement by going down here, as you can see. So like the song travels downwards, so each section down here, each scene represents like a change in structure or something along the lines, a variation in what you heard before, or an actual complete change in structure, as I said. So yeah, like that's kind of how I do it. It's not unique. Like that's kind of how a lot of people do it in Ableton, and I think a lot of people who use Live for the first time do not understand that is how it's meant to be kind of used. And it was one of those kind of eye-opening moments for me anyway. Just to be going straight down here and jamming it out, and it very kind of DJ-ish, Now, like I'd used previously DAWs like Logic and Cubase and GarageBand and all these kind of things, and they all have like your typical arrangement view here, which is grand. Like, but you're kind of, when you go into this section on Ableton, you're like, okay, why is everything on the right? Like there's kind of all these weird questions you have in your head. Whereas really what you should be thinking is, okay, how can I utilize this section to the most, Now, I didn't really utilize this section a whole lot. I kind of used it functionally, and then I do like to get to the arrangement, but I do like to jam here on the live view big time before I do arrange it. Anyway, so what I did was I arranged it in here and gave it the whole locators going across. It's just great for your own kind of visual benefit, really. You'll see yourself what you're where if you have like build, and like it build doesn't cause much tension, or the release from the tension you caused in the drop or section or groove or whatever you want to call it is underwhelming or something. It gives you visuals, and you can just click them and you're there straight away, so it is quite handy. Now I made the arrangement here, and then what I did was I had my filter cutoff mapped to my 303, and I basically just jammed through the song full way through, just improvising cutoff resonance, parameters, and that was good fun, and it always gives like a kind of hint of subtle variation, which is great because as I kind of reinforced several times with this, you're making loop based music, like it's intentionally repetitive, like, but in that it can't be boring and it can't just be the same thing over and over and over. So that's where the likes of subtle variation in the arrangement, say not so much the structure but how your instruments and what they're playing is arranged, variations in that, plus adjustments of parameters of, say, whatever instruments you're using. These are all techniques that give you small bits of variation. And I did it for the 303. I did it for the Rhodes. It has just Rhodes is just a sample, and it has frequency, as you see the bottom two there. Frequency, resonance are just mapped to it. So did the same for the Rhodes, not quite as like extreme as the 303, but does give it rather than fading up and down the level of the track or the channel, say, using the filter frequency and resonance to fade it in and out, I think gives it a little bit more of an interesting sound, as opposed to just volume automation. Other than that, I did let's skip that for a sec. I made the white noise channel. I did something similar. Now I've listened back to that several times, and there's about 1,000,001 things that I'm going to change in that, but either way it's a handy thing just to have, because saves people dipping into like impacts samples and stuff, like when they're very easily made yourself, like just with Operator. So that's it. White noise, Rhodes, and 303. They're the three big ones as far as, say, modifying the parameters to cause subtle variation, right? Now, what I did then was I took my toys section here. So basically I created an audio channel for 4 existing channels that are already there. So a China cymbal, the filtered strings, which are in the keys here, then M1 choir stab and M1 Rhodes stab. And basically what I did was I just reversed them. Some of them I put like so basically these toys here are all resampling. So you'll see if I check my input here, resampling is what's selected. And in case anyone's not familiar with resampling, it's very handy. You just mute everything. So solo a channel, create an audio channel, set it to resampling, hit record, enable, and then record into that channel. And whatever Ableton is playing at that moment goes directly into this channel. So whether it be like a full drum kit, one single element of a kit, or a synth or anything, or just your sends, so you could just play your sends, like all the return channels there, have the volume at 0 dB and just press play on them, and you'd record just all of the wet signal from the return channels, which is very handy, particularly if you want to create some ambient sounds, like for like breakdowns or whatever. Just take the the wet signal and compress it, throw some chorus on it or something, and you'll get this kind of spacey, way back but nice and full sounding mix in your breakdown. So yeah, we might do that again at some point, but the reason why I wanted to just chat a little bit at the start here is because I kind of mentioned last week that I was going to maybe jump into this project off stream, just headphones on, just not even on my studio monitors or anything, and just not alter any of the volume or anything, but literally just jump into the MIDI here of the drums and just create some variation. Now I didn't do that, but I guess that's probably for the best, because I'm going to do that now. But the only thing with that is, for me, like, I can't really do that while I'm chatting away, because it'd be kind of like, it would be shite. It'd just be like, oh, this fella, like, there'd be loads of ahs and ums as I'm trying to chop this up. So I was like, look, I'm going to just basically take off the headphones now, and I'm just going to have, probably for the most of this particular stream, I'm just going to I won't be talking, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm just going to tweak the fills and basically create some variation with the instruments as opposed to their parameters. So that's basically it. I'll probably come back, like I've got in the next 50 minutes I'll be here doing this, and like chances are I'll jump back on in a few minutes if I do anything interesting or something happens or whatever. I will, but otherwise I suppose what you should be watching out for here is this could be mostly drums, and that being the case, may as well kind of look at what I'm doing, check out the MIDI, and understand why I'm putting a particular fill in a particular place. a lot of this is just kind of cutting away too much content. So a lot of the time now, one of my techniques, right, when I'm making drum fills and stuff is can you do it with like just two feet and two hands, you know? So put yourself in the drummer's position here when you're making a fill, even with electronic kit. Like a lot of people will be like, oh, it's a drum machine, so it can do what a real human can't do. And that's true, absolutely. But it starts to sound a bit Mickey Mouse when you do it that way. Whereas when you actually, if you program it like a drummer plays, it gives just a way more satisfying feel. And particularly for this kind of music. Now, that's not to say that goes for everything. By all accounts, get as weird as you want with these kind of machines. Like, that's what they're there for. Like, but for this kind of music, I'm thinking a real drummer's feel is kind of what you want. Like, so that's why I'll be doing this. So a lot of the time I'll be like kind of, you know, not playing an open hat while a closed hat's playing, or, you know, kind of look out for crashes and stuff, like, and, you know, try not to have like 4 or 5 different things going on in the drums in one particular beat, just on the basis that it can't actually be done by a human. And in my experience, that's worked out way better than experimenting with it as if I was a drummer who's now like free from having to only use 2 hands and 2 feet. I'm the opposite. I'm the person who's like, okay, I have gone through this drum machine madness, and now I'm like, right, it's time to actually make these sound like musical instruments here. So that's kind of what I'm going to do, and I will I'll jump off and get stuck in. Right. Yeah. Well, that was kind of how I expected it to go. A lot of kind of just digging in, and whoop, of course it goes there. Hey. So, yeah, it kind of went exactly as expected. Time would fly. Kind of thing where you could literally just be 4 hours could go by and you wouldn't even, you'd be like, Jesus, how did that happen? Forget to eat, that kind of day. But yeah, sorry, a couple of interruptions in the middle of there, so it might have been a bit silent for a little bit. But yeah, like I said, I'd just go on an extra few minutes. Just finished up with resampling the white noise, and tomorrow we'll probably start off by jumping straight in with that. So yeah, that's it for today. See you again tomorrow at 3 o'clock till 4, and hopefully no interruptions or anything like that. But yeah, looking like we're getting closer and closer to finishing the arrangements, so pretty happy with how it's going. If we get to the mix this week, we'll be doing pretty well, but I don't want to jump the gun, commit to mixing, and then realize, oh, geez, this track is boring. So, gonna play it by ear, but potentially this week, maybe Thursday. And yeah, that's it. So thanks very much, and see you tomorrow.